Welcome back. It's been quite a week. Jackie's still missing and questioning is still Hamas.
That's right. Tonight, another $650 million sent to Israel. Right, Jenny?
That's right, Erica. We're here in Gaza where sand people are being pushed out so the chosen people can finally come home. Please help. Ugh, get off me.
Ooh, sounds like there was some kind of explosion out there.
Yeah, good thing it's just sand people.
Yeah. Jenny, maybe get a reaction from someone on the ground for us?
أنا بني آدم قاعد لا أكل ولا شرب ولا شيء ولا مصادر للحياة في الطريق ما فيش. وين المؤسسات الدولية؟
Yeah, what he said, right, Tom?
I have no idea what he just said.
Yeah, probably something sandy. In other news, our greatest ally just bombed Qatar. Whoops.
That's right. Qatar is supposed to be the mediator of peace, and now America has to decide how we're going to finish off the sand people. Let's go live to Charlie and Shapiro-Stein.
Israel bombed Qatar. So maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says.
Stick to the goy slop or you'll end up like Jackie, last warning. Shapiro-Stein, tell him what it means to be chosen.
I'm overtly pro-Israel. Right? I mean, I'm not making any bones about this. I'm a Jew and I'm a Zionist. I'm not going to pretend that to say otherwise would be absolutely silly. The perception the legacy media is owned by the Jews. And
I was going to say, Ben, you Jews own the media, Ben.
Shut it down. Everybody say bye-bye to Kirkberg.
I didn't know Charlie was based like that.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't end up like Jackie.
Hello, this is Mossad.
Charlie's on at noon. Utah.
I'll be there.
Good call, Producer Berg. In other news, the IDF just got caught sniping sand people trying to get food and resources for their starving families. Check it out. Those people are literally Satan.
Yeah, you're talking about the sand people, right? Right?
Thanks, guys. It's a beautiful day here in Utah where Charlie is hosting a fair and open debate. Students are just arriving now.
You first, Tyler.
We're here at Utah Valley University where many are bracing for Mr. Kirkberg's new round of antiseptic hate about loving Jesus.
Abortion is good. You don't even let me talk. Ugh.
What is a woman?
Bigot! What do you think of Charlie? Fascist! Racist! He should be not alive just for having an opinion.
Truly, the marketplace of ideas.
We need to thank God and turn to Jesus Christ.
What do you think of Charlie?
I love Charlie. Might disagree with Israel, but he's a good dude.
It's done.
Oh, we got him.
Good luck with whatever this is. I'm going to go this way. You should go jump over there where we kept the cameras on.
You want one?
The suspect is still at large. Officials say it could take exactly 33 hours to let Mossad fly back to Israel.
Good. So we can put that conspiracy to rest. Right, John?
That's right. And rumors say we should fight over whether or not it's the left or right.
Good call. That way they won't notice and end up antiseptic.
Look, you stupid goyim. Just because Israel was the first to report his death, we found the private jet, and Charlie was getting too big to suppress. Doesn't mean we funded this one. Just ask Mossad Youssef.
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down.
Good call, Mossad. We're here in the so-called city of tolerance.
You white racist.
But apparently it doesn't apply to everyone.
He said my clump of cells was made in the image of God. Not here, baby. Not in this community, it ain't.
Yeah. We're back here at Utah Valley University. Just a normal day after last night's big debate. What do you think about everything that went down?
Honestly, he deserved it.
Affirm my gender. Affirm my gender. Clump of cells. Clump of cells. I am a black woman. Clump of cells.
Honestly, if you just read the Civil Rights Act, none of this would have even been controversial. His opinion is discredited for being white.
Aren't you white?
I'm Israeli. Wow, I didn't realize people would be celebrating an innocent man's death.
It's got to be something they put in those vaccines.
These people need God. Right, Dennis? It's true. They'd crucify Jesus again if they could. Anyways, rest in peace to Charlie. And if you are still not following Jake GTV, you are a retarded little loser.
Another great video there from JGTV. He's doing some good stuff. Been a while since I brought you a video report. About 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks, so sorry about that. Still here in Croatia at the fig farm, as you can probably tell. And as much as I don't want to, I guess I still have to touch on the whole Charlie Kirk thing, hopefully for the last time. It's been interesting watching what's happened over the last 2 weeks. The amount of information that's come out about it, different camera angles, all sorts of stuff. And still the theories are flying around. As I said on the last video, I mean, it's all very well to have all these theories. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. What matters is what they're going to do with the event. Because as more evidence has come out, I mean, it's so obvious that this is a completely pre-planned, staged, orchestrated event. Some of the information that's come out, you've almost got to wonder whether Charlie Kirk was groomed for this. But it seems completely intentional, everything that happened, with help from the highest sources in our society. You know, as always with these things. And it appears that there are kind of multiple motives for this to have been done. But you know, as always, government will never miss the opportunity for a good trauma event to bring in new legislation and everything that they're doing, which is what I said you should be looking out for. Just watch what they roll out under the carpet while everybody is in turmoil and trauma over Charlie Kirk being shot and arguing over the details. How it happened, who did it, is it real? All this sort of stuff, rather than looking at, you know, like acknowledging that it's a staged event, obviously, and seeing what they're going to do with it. But so much information has come out about it. Like, people have been looking at different camera angles and stuff like this, suggesting that it wasn't the shooter on the roof, and I would say that it wasn't. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. He hasn't confessed, by the way. They're trying to pin it on him through some Discord chat. I mean, you can't even prove that was really him on the chat. You know, all of it seems so contrived. I mean, is he even real? You can do a lot of stuff with AI these days, although there has been police body cam footage come out. Apparently he was stopped in a traffic incident a couple of years ago or something. But a lot of people are looking at different ways this could have been done. People have been theorising that there was a guy at the front using a little palm gun. These things were made like in the 1890s, and someone suggested that that was who killed him at the front there, because this guy twitches as the bullet goes off.
There have been in America over the last 10 years.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Gang violence.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, he twitches as the bullet goes off, which is pretty understandable. It's what you do. And there's other camera angles which show the bullet penetrating, and the sound of it sounds like a rifle.
Gang violence.
So yeah, there's all this sort of stuff that people are arguing about. There's a lot of stuff coming out now suggesting that he was shot from behind. Yeah, a lot of that is highly likely as well, which would explain why there was no exit wound.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's a projectile flying super, super fast, and it goes right in between his legs near the tip of the microphone. Like, everybody that's saying that it's an entry wound now and that we're just all crazy, bullshit, man. Bullshit. Look at the angle. It's an exit wound. The bullet passes right between his knees. I mean, what else is it? If it's something else, I'll come back and I'll apologize. I'll be like, hey, I had it all wrong. But from my experience, and I've seen vapor trails as a sniper, I know what bullets look like in the air. I can see a bullet going downrange and hitting its target. It has to be, you generally has to be the right environment, but you can generally see it if you look right over it. It's called the vapor trail. You can see that bullet. That's a bullet. And if it's not, what else is it? Going straight into the ground in front of Charlie.
Yeah, a lot of that is highly likely as well, which would explain why there was no exit wound. The cops, apparently the official narrative is that the bullet got lodged in his neck. That it was a .30-06 caliber bullet and it got lodged in his neck. So apparently Charlie Kirk has a neck of steel. And they're saying that this was God. Charlie saved anyone getting killed behind him, and Jesus did it.
Kelly, we're hearing Charlie Kirk's organization is revealing new details surrounding his death. What are they saying about this?
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. There was a new post out from the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Colvett, and he wanted to post this. He said he spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital, and they were talking about the exit wound. So Colvett was saying that there was no exit wound. We are still waiting to confirm this with the hospital, but he said he spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. He said, quote, "It was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed." They did find the bullet just beneath the skin, he says, and even in death, he finishes, that Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. So that was just posted within the last hour. We wanted to make sure we shared that with you as well, Natasha.
Yeah, I appreciate those details.
It's insane how this has been played. But anyway, there's all sorts of concepts of how he was shot. And there's also the crew saying, well, he wasn't shot at all, it was all faked. You always get the all faked crew out there. They say everything's always fake all the time, and you know, they don't really look any further than that. But like I said, ultimately, like, whatever happened, whether Charlie Kirk's dead or whether he is, and I would suggest he probably is, there's no reason for them to fake this sort of stuff. I mean, they don't care about life. The people we're dealing with here are incredibly evil. I mean, they're government. Government is incredibly evil. You know, and that's the starting point when you're looking at all this sort of stuff. I mean, when something like this happens, you've got to understand government lies to us all the time. Like, all the time. Their entire existence is a lie. Their reason for existing is a lie. And they're just a bunch of liars and criminals. And so that's your starting point. And then you start arguing over, you know, was it real? Is he dead? Where did the bullet come from? This is why they make things the way they do, why they get different camera angles and put them out there and put different theories out there all the time. There's even people now saying, oh, is it all AI? There's a guy who disappears when he jumps behind a table. You know, you could get any of this footage and you could just create that and put it out there so that people keep arguing over the details, because that's what you want people to do. Just argue over the details. Don't look at what's going on in their peripheral vision. And like I said, there's multiple motives for doing this. I mean, they want to bring in their new world. Israel was obviously implicated and is obviously implicated because Charlie Kirk had been speaking out against Israel. He'd sort of starting to wake up to what's really going on there. There was a debate I saw. He was talking to someone, I don't know whether I'll be able to find the clip, and Charlie couldn't believe that there were actually Christians and stuff living in Iran.
Do you think that it's better for Christianity to have Israel controlled by Jews or Israel controlled by Muslims?
Part of my family is from Tehran. They're Iranian.
They are Shia Muslim?
No, they are Christian. They're Armenian. They've lived in Tehran their entire life. There's a big community of them. They have churches that they go every single Sunday. They are proud of who they are. They wear their crosses out. Not a problem. But let's talk about Egypt, Syria, Jordan. They have thousands of churches there. They have big Christian faith over there, but they are Muslim majority countries and run by Muslims, and the churches are protected.
I've told people before, you know, Palestine is 35% Christian. These aren't terrorists. These are just people, you know. The terrorist state is Israel. And Charlie was waking up to this, so they had every reason to take him out. And there's a lot of people who think the same way that I do about that.
I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay?
Before Charlie Kirk was killed, he said Charlie Kirk fears that Israel will kill him if he continues ahead, providing space for Israel critics.
Charlie kind of starting to question the amount of influence that Israel has in U.S., not only domestic politics, but foreign politics as well.
I just don't think we should go to war with Iran. Is a nuclear weapon Iran a threat to America? Probably, could be. It's a threat to Israel, but is it a threat to America? I mean, India has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has nuclear weapons.
But he was one of the only people to go to the Oval Office and say, sir, I totally understand, but a war with Iran could really hurt our country. He took massive abuse from his own donors. And they expressed it to him in a very intense way. I know because he showed me.
He's talking about October 7th possibly being an inside job.
I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border.
He starts to question whether Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli Mossad agent.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who is obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence.
And it all blew out into the open at TPUSA's July Youth Summit. Might have been Tallahassee.
Yeah, Tucker gave the speech.
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services. It's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed.
But it wasn't just Tucker. Megyn Kelly had started questioning Israel and
Mossad, given his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Comic Dave Smith, who, like myself, is a Jewish anti-Zionist.
But there's no reason why we even have to be enemies with Iran. This is Israel's problem. We don't need to be involved in this. Sorry, we got our own issues here.
The crowd was cheering in this cathartic way. Then Tucker comes out, says, you should have your citizenship yanked if you fight for a foreign army.
How can somebody pledge allegiance to two countries at the same time?
Obviously, that's absurd. And I know you're speaking about Israel. I think anybody, by the way, who serves in a foreign military should lose his citizenship immediately. There are a lot of Americans who've served in the IDF. They should lose their citizenship.
After that, he started getting publicly attacked. Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, the two biggest Zionist enforcers in the media. Laura Loomer, we all know who she is. She publicly attacked Charlie Kirk and said he basically had to step down.
Honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. There's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen.
It was also very telling, but just a coincidence, of course, that as soon as Charlie was killed, his entire platform was overrun and taken over by Zionists. So that gives you a pretty good indication of which way they want the narrative to flow. Yeah, so there's every indication that they were involved. I mean, of course they were. They always are. I don't believe that. It's just they always are, you know, and they had motive and they had opportunity. So, you know. But then there's also, like I said, the government is going to use this to get what they want. And so much so, they've been doing it so much so, that it would appear that Charlie was actually groomed for this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's come out in the last couple of weeks. Like, people are looking at who his wife was, Erica Kirk. There's connections that have been found to Donald Trump and to child trafficking in Romania.
Yeah, so Republicans in Israel might have shot themselves in the foot with this Charlie Kirk thing, because Erica Kirk's story is coming out and the Republicans are freaking out over it. So if you don't know what's going on, Charlie Kirk's wife won Miss Arizona, a beauty pageant, when she was, I think, 17. She had never contested before. Someone just told her, hey, you could be a beauty pageant. And guess what company she worked for? Guess who she worked for as in the beauty pageant? Donald Trump. Right after she won the beauty pageant, she ended up creating a Christian ministry that works with children and went to go work with the Romanian government. So now you have all these conservatives on TikTok and on Twitter asking, what kind of power does a 17-year-old have to create a Christian ministry to go work with the Romanian government to go for orphans? Now, here's a funny thing. At the same time that her ministry was in Romania working with the Romanian government, Romania went through a massive case of children missing. So the Romanian government kicked her, like her Christian organization that was in Romania to help Christian babies. The Romanian government told her to get the fuck out the country because something just doesn't add up. Because her ministry is linked with too many children going missing. So now, I swear, go on TikTok, go on Twitter right now, search Erica Kirk. That's all you'll see. Everyone is talking about how the fuck she was 17. She won a beauty pageant under Trump's agency. And then right after she won the beauty pageant, she went to Romania, started working with children. Children started going missing, and the Romanian government kicked her out.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And like they said, how did she manage to do all that at 17 and then suddenly she's kicked out of the country because so many children were disappearing? What's going on there? And then there's a movie. Someone discovered this, and I've seen a few different reports. And what I'm going to bring you is from a Christian channel, but he kind of says it pretty concisely. And there's a movie that came out in 1998 called Snake Eyes, starring Nicolas Cage, and it talks about a public event where someone is assassinated. A guy called Charlie Kirk, is assassinated, and it happens while there's a boxer in the ring whose name is Tyler the Executioner, who basically creates the distraction so this guy can be assassinated, this Charles Kirkland.
This movie, it stars Nicolas Cage. It's about an event, a live event at Trump Tower, okay, on September 10th. A live event on September 10th at Trump Tower that a boxer named Tyler the Executioner, okay, seriously, Tyler the Executioner, I'll put the picture up right here. Who is the executioner in our timeline? Tyler, okay? So Tyler the Executioner on September 10th, he causes a distraction and allows a man named Charles Kirkland, Charles Kirkland, to be shot in the neck. Why, you might ask? Well, if it's not creepy enough, it's because, well, let's just say it has to do with Israeli weapons, and some shady things that are happening behind the scenes. Just like in real life, Charlie Kirk came out against Israel and the possible, well, he didn't come out against Israel. He came out against Jeffrey Epstein and the possible ties Jeffrey Epstein had or has with Mossad.
That's pretty wild, folks. That's in 1998. Predictive programming. What's the chances? What's the chances Tyler the Executioner, and he's a distraction? Because, I mean, like I said, the government lies to us about everything. Of course this guy Tyler's a patsy. If Charlie Kirk actually died, there's a very good chance he's shot from behind, and what we saw was an exit wound. Extremely lucky that it went through the jugular, maybe. That was the plan. Maybe they knew exactly what they're doing. Maybe it did come from the front. It doesn't fucking matter. Maybe he's alive. Doesn't matter. What matters is what they're going to do with it. Like, did you see Charlie Kirk's funeral? Or the memorial, not the funeral, the memorial they had. It was obscene. Like, it was just such a show. And Like when Erica Kirk walked on stage, like the choir is singing. It's like an orchestra there, and there's a choir, and it sounds like they're singing religious hymns, you know. And she walks out all clothed in white, and there's like a full fireworks display going along. And then she walks behind this like 2-inch thick bulletproof glass to give her speech to an entire arena. You know, it was like this religious second coming. And I think the word Jesus was mentioned in the all the presentations by everybody. Like everybody got up and spoke. A lot of people anyway. The president got up and spoke. I mean, this was like it was an assassination of John F. Kennedy. It was just Charlie Kirk. He's a podcaster. He used to do debates with high school kids. Hardly anybody had even heard of him before he got shot. And now suddenly we're having like a religious event to memorialize his death.
Please give a warm welcome to Mrs. Erica Kirk. Now, to me, that was a sickening display. And if you watch the whole presentation, like I said, the word Jesus must have been mentioned 50 times, 100 times. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Charlie was doing what he did for Jesus. This is a very dangerous thing to be happening, folks. And all the Christians were there, were gobbling it up. And America's supposed to be a Christian country. And you've got Donald Trump supplying arms to Israel, to these fake Jews. They're not the Israelites of the Bible. These are people who mainly come from Europe, who've taken over the whole area and are carrying out a mass genocide, doing the most evil things you could possibly imagine. And Trump's funding all this and supporting all this, and he's getting all of the Christian energy with him. And now they're like canonizing Charlie Kirk. Even talking about putting his face on a coin, for God's sake. You know? Like, this whole thing has been so staged and so well orchestrated. And we're heading for a merging of the state and the church. You know, people are concerned about so-called Muslim countries because the government is a merger of state and religion. And now they're saying they're going to do it with Christianity, or they're showing you they're doing it with Christianity. They may not be saying it, but they're actually doing it. All you got to do is look at the whole, like it was shocking. Like it just makes me shudder to look at what's going on with this whole Charlie Kirk memorial and how religiously based it was. And by the state that is funding the genocide of children funding the genocide of the Palestinian people, funding all of the cruelty and the war, the debt slavery, like everything the United States has done. This is not a good place. I mean, the government, the people are great, but the government is hideous, you know. And now they're merging this with religion. So you've got all of these Christians who believe they're supporting what is good and what is righteous and what is wholesome, and they're supporting war and mass genocide and all this sort of stuff, all the lies they're told about the Palestinian people. These are kind, beautiful, gentle people. The terrorists are the people masquerading as Jews, who names them in your Bible as saying that they are the Jews who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And this is what your government is supporting. And this is coming from someone who's non-religious, but I mean, the Zionist Christians of America are leading the entire world off a cliff. You know, these religionists, they've got no concept of what's really going on. And it's just shocking to see. And while this has been going on, like the last couple of weeks, they have been literally hammering the shit out of Gaza City. Just encroaching a little bit at a time and driving all of the people basically into the ocean. You can see by the graphic. And it's hideous, and they're saying, oh, we're giving them safe areas to flee to. There are no safe areas. They bomb the safe areas. They're getting them further and further away from their homes. They're just making life impossible for these people. And now they're going in to Gaza City, and they're sending in like troop carriers full of explosives. They don't care how much they blow up because the United States pays for it. But they're getting these robot troop carriers, and they're putting like 8 tons of ammonium nitrate in there, and they're going in and setting off these bombs that are taking out entire suburbs. These bombs are as big as like 10 or 12 missiles that they send in. These bombs will do the same amount of damage. And that's what they're doing to Gaza City as they just progress and basically drive the people into the ocean while crying victim as they do it, and claiming that they're looking for hostages. Yeah, it's horrendous, folks. And this is what the United States, what Donald Trump's administration is funding, this genocide. And as I've said so many times, if we don't deal with this, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. Donald Trump said, I think yesterday or today, that he's not going to allow Israel to annex West Bank. Well, Israel's already in there destroying West Bank. They claim they found a house that was producing rockets, and there was a rocket attack from West Bank, so they went in there and absolutely obliterated this whole neighborhood. You know, they just use this excuse all the time. Oh, it's Hamas. Oh, it's terrorists. Anybody who fights back against our oppression, against our ethnic cleansing, against our war crimes, against our inhumanity is a terrorist. This is the way Israel operates, and all this has been going on while everyone's been distracted by Charlie Kirk. And America has suffered a huge blow in as much as the loss of free speech. I mean, they took Jimmy Kimmel off the air because of something that he said, which was basically saying that Trump, didn't really give a shit about Charlie Kirk. They said, we took him off because he made a thing he called them, to the LGBTQ, one of them, so, reference to a gay person or something. But no, it was because of what he said about Donald Trump, because he basically said, look, Trump, didn't really care about Charlie Kirk. He cared more about his ballroom.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. There's demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
And yeah, he was pretty right with that comment, and that's basically why they took him off the air, because Trump has incredibly thin skin. Doesn't like people saying bad things about him, But, they put him back on. So, he's been reinstated because there was a bit of a hubbub about it, First Amendment, blah, blah, blah. But now you're seeing all this stuff come out. Like in Australia, they're bringing in digital safeguards for the children, of course. No child under the age of 16, I think, will be able to access social media. And this is going to be devastating for a lot of kids. I mean, there's a lot of kids, 13, 14 years old, this is just their whole life, talking with their friends on social media. Kids don't ring each other up anymore. They don't talk on the phone. They don't do the things that we did as children. They do it all on social media. And sure, there's a lot of stuff that's bad on social media. There's a lot of porn sites kids can access and all sorts of stuff, but they've done it on purpose. They've made it that way so they can bring in all this legislation. So now they're bringing in this age restriction in Australia. And apparently Albanese got up and did a speech about it at the EU the other day, the UN meeting or whatever it was. And we're bringing all this in on the 10th of December to protect the children. And any social media site that doesn't have safeguards and know that the people that they're dealing with are of an acceptable age, then they will face $49.5 million fine per offence. So we're going really hardcore about it to protect the children, But what is this going to do? I mean, you're going to have to prove your age to go onto social media. So, and as most people do all of their business on social media, LinkedIn, all sorts of places, and they do it all without looking at porn and without doing the wrong thing. And a lot of kids use the internet without looking at porn and without doing the wrong thing. It's just it's their life. It's how they communicate with their friends. Are game sites going to be considered banned as well? I mean, people go on and play group games. Kids play games with each other online. They use chat programs like Discord. So, of course, we saw Discord implicated in this whole Charlie Kirk thing. So they're basically isolating the kids from being able to talk to each other. And adults are going to have to basically prove their age in order to access social media. And of course, this is going to be done by a digital ID. And this is coming in Australia, I believe, on December the 10th this year. And the Prime Minister of Australia, Albanese, went and had a bit of a chat at the UN. And what's her name? Van der Leyen, unvoted dictator of Europe, said that Europe is going to have to catch up to Australian standards, that they're leading the world in protecting the children at the moment, and the EU is going to have to step up and follow suit. So you can see where they're going with all this, folks. They're going to bring in digital ID in order to protect the children, because they're saying the extremism of, you know, who killed Charlie Kirk, this was all done by the left because people are being radicalized online via extremists. You see, this is how they do it, folks. And Trump's following suit in America. He's named Antifa as a terrorist organization. And, you know, I'm no fan of Antifa. Anti-fascist fascists is what they are. They're using fascism to say how much they hate fascism. It's interesting how that works. When I was in Germany in 2014, I think, 2014 or 2015, I was in Germany, in Berlin. And they were telling me there about anti-fascist fascists. And I'm going, what the fuck is an anti-fascist fascist? I'd never heard of anything more ridiculous. And then Antifa came online in the West, and I went, it's these anti-fascist fascists that the Germans were telling me about. Funny how that works. Look, there's a contrail in the sky, folks. An actual contrail. Isn't that unusual? See, it's not a chemtrail. See how the trail is disappearing behind the jet. I hope you can see that. I hope I've put that in shot. But see how the trail is disappearing behind the jet. That's a contrail. It's not a chemtrail. The ones that leave these huge lines over the sky are chemtrails, like these ones. These are chemtrails. I'll tell you that it's some sort of serious cloud, but it's not. These are chemtrails. But anyway, back to the topic. Yeah, Trump's naming Antifa as a terrorist organization, and he also went public and said that organized protests are an incitement to riot that leads to death. An interesting way of looking at an organized protest, folks. This is all First Amendment stuff. See, first they take away your freedom of speech, then they take away your right to protest, and the next thing they'll be taking away your guns because they have shootings and all this sort of stuff, like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk advocated for gun rights, and that's why he died, because he advocated for gun rights and he thereby preached violence and all the bullshit that they're saying with it. Like, they've really played this to the hilt, folks. There's no way that this wasn't a setup and wasn't staged to happen. Whether Charlie died or not, that isn't the issue. That's just ridiculous. It's one of the small points they want you arguing about. It's like 9/11. People are still arguing whether it was thermite, whether it was micronewts, whether it was this, whether it was that. It doesn't matter what it was. What matters is what the result of it was. The whole war on terror and everything that happened since then that led us to this point we are at now. And this whole Charlie Kirk thing has been played, like I said, it's as if John F. Kennedy just got assassinated again. This guy was a freaking podcaster, for God's sake. Sure, he was reaching a lot of high school kids, but he was a podcaster. What, you got presidential speeches and the whole way Erica Kirk came out and they put her behind the bulletproof glass. All of this subliminal programming, the way Jesus was mentioned so many dozens and dozens of times during the speeches by everybody. Everybody made it all about Jesus. The merger of church and state. What you've seen in the Muslim world, what you've seen in Israel, the merger of church and state.
And if you look at some of the stuff in the Bible, which the Jews wrote, by the way, there's a lot of bloodlust in there. There's a lot of eye for an eye and all that sort of shit. It's not happy reading. The Bible isn't a bunch of warm, fuzzy stories, folks. It's fucking brutal. And you imagine government being run that way. It'd be freaky stuff. And all the stuff you've heard about Muslims, it's not as bad as what you think. All the Muslim extremism, all the Wahhabism and stuff you see was actually all started by Israel. Muslim extremism itself was started by the West. The first books on Muslim extremism were printed in Pensacola University and were distributed among the people of Afghanistan by Zbigniew Brzezinski and people like that. The whole goal was to, when they kick-started the war with Russia against the Middle East, the Mujahideen and all this sort of stuff, this all led to Al-Qaeda and it led to ISIS, and it's all been run by the same freaking people, folks, to create the spectre of Muslim extremism when real Muslims just want to live peaceful lives. They're actually good, kind people, folks. I've seen them in Gaza. Every Muslim that I've met's been a nice person. The problem is there's a whole sector of them who got radicalized and militarized, and it was all done by the West, done by Israel, done by the Jews in order to create this whole clash of East against West. And now they're doing the same with the Christians. They're bringing all of the Christians into a radical version of Christianity, which is actually supporting death, war, and genocide. It'll be a fascist theocracy. And this was actually something that Frank Zappa warned of years ago. There's some little pieces of stuff that Zappa said, and a lot of this stuff was said back in the 1970s and 1980s. Have a listen to some of this, of what he warned of, what his nightmare was of what the United States had the potential to become.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
If anyone could put all this nonsense in perspective.
The thing that sets the Americans apart from the rest of the cultures in the world is we're so stupid. This country's been around for a couple of hundred years and we think we're high, and we don't even realize that other countries have thousands of years of history and culture, and they're proud of it. And when we deal on an international level, with foreign policy and stuff like that, and we try and go in as, we're a big American strong country and all that stuff, they must laugh up their sleeves at us because we are nothing. We are culturally nothing. We mean nothing. We're only interested in the bottom line.
It's the late Frank Zappa.
Really? What is the government's role? You've told me several times what it shouldn't do.
How about national defense?
Yeah, I consider this national defense, pal. Our families are under attack from people like you with these lyrics.
Could I make a statement about national defense?
Yeah.
The biggest threat to America today is not communism. It's moving America toward a fascist theocracy. And everything that's happened during the Reagan administration is steering us right down that pipe.
And his words ring true more than ever.
And you know why I wanted to be a dictator? Because I want a wall, right? I want a wall, and I want to drill, drill, drill. Yeah, a wall.
I have this horrible fear that the United States could wend its way toward being a fascist theocracy. The cross converted into a symbol of fascism in the service of politics. This is bad.
You think that's why
it's lurking.
My second favorite book of all time. What's my first favorite book? The Bible.
He warned us of folks like this.
Whenever Ronald Reagan is speaking on television, turn it on and turn the sound down and put your child in front of the set and point to him and say, if he asks you to get into a car, offers you candy, or tells you to go to fight in Nicaragua, tell him no.
Facts are stupid things.
And called it when this guy was around.
The arrow that has been shot against the president, against your plan, right now, we cause it to ricochet and go back to sender right now. High-level demonic networks, let them be broken, let them be torn down in the name of Jesus.
And when it comes to the religious right,
The way I look at it, I think the church is about 200 and some years in arrears in their taxes. They should have been taxing the church all along, because when an organization, which basically is a business, as all these churches and cults and everything are in the United States, they set themselves up and they take money from people, promising them some sort of mental relief or a piece of heaven or whatever the deal is that they're offering, but basically they're taking money from people. And although they promise to send it overseas to have these little missions that they're going to save heathens from themselves and so forth, what they do is they buy real estate. They buy vast quantities of real estate, and they don't pay any taxes on it. And they've got all this stuff that should be taxed. And I'm mad about that.
Zappa saw through it as well, including something this network has rung the bell on for decades: money in politics.
America is such a crazy place. I mean, it's when you consider that you can elect a person like Richard Nixon just by running the proper type of television advertising campaign. It's possible that a person with an equal amount of money for the same size campaign, he spent $22 million to convince a bunch of people to vote for him, that he was a good bet for the presidency. Anybody else with $22 million and the right kind of PR firm could do the same thing.
We have to look at the internet because a lot of bad things are happening to young kids and young minds, and their minds are being formed. And we have to do something about maybe what they're seeing and how they're seeing it, and also video games.
He also warned of the tactics politicians use to distract us from their own atrocities.
When you see a young girl, as you saw a moment ago, who was standing, I guess, in a video rental store saying, I like the blood, what's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that the issue here may be desensitization rather than the content, because I think that there are a lot of things that people can see on television or in the movies that desensitize you. But the most desensitizing thing in the United States today is the Iran-Contra hearings, because that is desensitizing us to honesty, to the Constitution itself. That is an issue. This is nothing.
One thing I can promise you this: I will always tell you the truth.
And Zappa, far ahead of his time, dared to say what many would not in the public sphere.
I would say, and without batting an eye, that the rule today is dishonesty is the rule and honesty is the exception.
See, I would hate to believe that.
You can hate to believe it, but if you don't believe it, you're a fool.
I don't think that's the norm, though. I mean,
if you're talking strictly about quantity of people being honest versus quantity of people being dishonest, maybe you could come up with a statistic balance that would show that maybe 51 or 52% of the people are honest and 48 are shady. But the few that really control things are not honest, and they count for more votes than the extra ones who might be honest. I don't think we have an honest president. I don't think that he is surrounded by honest people. I don't think that most of the people in Congress or in the Senate are honest. I don't believe that they are honest people.
And why do you say that? What makes you believe that?
I think the proof of that is the way the country operates. And I don't think that most of the people who head up businesses are honest.
See, I would hate to feel that negative. I mean, I realize that unless you open your eyes to a situation as it really is, you can't do anything about changing it. But I would hate to be that negative, that pessimistic about the shape of this country and the shape of the people in this country.
You would hate to be that negative and be right. If you could be that negative and somebody would suddenly just come up with all the proof and say, it's really okay, you're just a negative kind of a person. You know, that would be like a cute little dream for a minute there. But I believe that I'm right. I believe they are dishonest. I believe we have allowed them to be the way that they are. We have voted them in. We got them in there, and we're letting them do it. because we're not honest enough to face up to the fact that we are owned and operated by a bunch of really bad people.
JD is kissing my ass. He wants my support.
If you are a member of the Republican Party in the United States, the treatment resembles very much what happens in the Soviet Union if you are a Communist Party member. Certain things will not happen to you. Certain things can be done for you.
Oh, Mr. Zapp, you're not really serious if you're saying we're going toward a fascist theocracy.
That's right, we are.
Pretty on-point sort of stuff, folks. Frank knew what he was talking about. And we're seeing that right now. And that was back in the 70s and 80s he was saying this sort of shit. It's crazy. And the United States is supporting the most heinous crimes in Israel and just lying through their teeth. Israel is literally lying through their teeth with everything they say. And there's one sniper in Israel didn't brag, but he said, but by order, he was ordered to shoot children if they come too close to the food distribution sites before the allotted time. And he said he kills somewhere like 50 or 60 children a day. It's just hideous, folks, what they're doing. And they're openly talking about genocide. There's whole groups of Israelis waiting on the northern border of Gaza for Gaza City to be obliterated completely so they can go and start buying up land. Even Beelzebub Smokedick, whatever his name is, the foreign minister or minister for finance, whatever he is, he's saying what an incredible real estate boom. It's going to be a real estate bonanza once they've blown up Gaza City.
בוא נדבר על היום שאחרי המלחמה בהיבט הנדל"ני. אתה כבר התבטאת לא פעם לגבי חידוש ההתיישבות היהודית ברצועת עזה. שאלה פשוטה, איפה מבחינתך צריך לקום היישוב הראשון ברצועה?
אני מודה שלזה לא ציפיתי. אני מוכן להתחיל מהתוחמת הצפונית. אבל סתם, תדעו לכם, זה לא מצחיק. יש תוכנית עסקית. תקשיבו לי טוב, יש תוכנית עסקית שנבנתה על ידי האנשים הכי מקצועיים שיש, שנמצאת על השולחן של הנשיא טראמפ. לאיך הדבר הזה הופך לבוננזה של נדל"ן, אני לא צוחק, מחזיר את עצמו. אגב, אני התחלתי משא ומתן עם האמריקאים, ואני אומר את זה לא בצחוק עכשיו, כי אני גם דורש, הרי אנחנו שילמנו המון כסף על המלחמה הזאת. אז אנחנו צריכים להתחלק, איך אנחנו עושים אחוזים על שיווקי הקרקע אחר כך בעזה, אבל עכשיו לא בצחוק. את שלב ההריסה, שהוא תמיד השלב הראשון בהתחדשות העירונית עשינו, עכשיו צריך לבנות, זה הרבה יותר זול.
Yeah, folks, profits to be made. Profits to be made. Go in and build your paradise on the bones of murdered children. Israel is a hideous, hideous state, folks. Absolute hideous state. And it's got complete control of US politics. And, they're just joined at the hip. Israel has to buy bombs off the United States. America has to sell bombs to Israel in order for both the states to exist.
Israel is ruling the American government. But wait, how can that even be possible? How can a country of just 9 million people have such a grip on the world's biggest superpower? Why does the US send $3.8 billion every year to Israel, while Americans struggle with healthcare, housing, and student debt? Why do American presidents, Republican and Democrat alike, all stand in line to promise loyalty to Israel no matter what? And why, even after thousands of dead children in Gaza, does Washington continue to send bombs stamped Made in USA? The answer lies in history, politics, money, religion, and power. Since World War II, the United States has given over $260 billion in aid to Israel, more than to any other country in the entire world. But this isn't just foreign aid. It's a pipeline, a guaranteed, unstoppable stream of US taxpayer money that flows straight into Israel's military machine. Every year, the US sends $3.8 billion to Israel. That's about $10 million every single day. And where does it go? To fighter jets, to bombs, to tanks, to missile defense systems like the Iron Dome. All of it funded by American taxpayers. Take 2016, for example. Under President Obama, the US signed the largest military aid deal in American history, a $38 billion package over 10 years. Locked in, guaranteed, no matter who sits in the White House. That means while Americans argue about how to pay for healthcare or education, Israel never has to worry about where its next warplane is coming from. Here's the catch. Much of this money never even leaves the US. By law, a huge portion of the aid must be spent on American defense companies, giants like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Raytheon. So Israel gets the weapons, the corporations get the profits, and ordinary Americans, they get the bill. Take the F-35 stealth fighter jet. Each one costs around $80 million. The US has supplied dozens to Israel, making it one of the few countries in the world with access to this next-generation aircraft. Meanwhile, teachers in Detroit buy school supplies out of their own pockets. Or consider Israel's Iron Dome. This missile defense system has received over $2.6 billion in US funding since 2011. That's money that could have rebuilt crumbling US infrastructure, bridges, roads, and water systems that experts say will cost over $2 trillion to repair. While Israel expands its military arsenal, over 500,000 Americans are homeless. While Israeli cities are shielded by US-funded defense systems, tens of millions of Americans live without health insurance. So ask yourself, why does a nation of 9 million people get unlimited US tax dollars while 330 million Americans are told there's no money for basic needs? This isn't generosity. It's not charity. It's an investment in war, an investment in the military-industrial complex that profits from endless conflict. And behind every dollar, every deal, every jet and missile is a network of politics, lobbying, and influence that keeps this pipeline flowing. So the question is, why? Is this really about strategy? Or is there something far deeper? Money, power, and control driving America's unconditional support for Israel?
This is where names matter. One organization stands at the center, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. For decades, AIPAC has been called the most powerful foreign policy lobby in Washington. Its annual conferences draw thousands of politicians, business leaders, and donors, with U.S. presidents, both Republican and Democrat, showing up to pledge loyalty on stage. But it's not just speeches, it's money. In the 2022 midterms alone, pro-Israel groups poured over $30 million into campaign donations. AIPAC's Super PAC, the United Democracy Project, spent millions to defeat candidates who criticized Israel. Even Democrats like Donna Edwards in Maryland or Andy Levin in Michigan, both targeted and beaten after questioning unconditional U.S. aid to Israel. The message is clear. Step out of line and you're gone. Former Congressman Paul Findley once said that voting against Israeli interests is political suicide. He knew firsthand. After serving 22 years in Congress, his career ended once he started questioning U.S. policy toward Israel. And AIPAC isn't alone. There's Christians United for Israel, led by televangelist John Hagee, mobilizing millions of Christian Zionists to pressure Congress. There's the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, presenting itself as a civil rights group, but often lobbying to silence critics of Israel. And dozens of PACs, some with vague names like Pro-Israel America PAC, funnel millions into local elections. Together, these groups form what scholars like John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt have called the Israel Lobby, one of the most powerful forces in Washington, shaping U.S. foreign policy more than any think tank, business lobby, or grassroots movement. And the influence isn't only financial. The lobby has deep reach into the media and academia. Organizations like the Middle East Media Research Institute, or MEMORY, and the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, or YNEP, pump out reports, op-eds, and talking points that frame Israel as America's indispensable ally. This machine works quietly but effectively. Presidents from Clinton to Bush, Obama to Biden, and now Trump have all maintained the same bottom line: billions for Israel, unquestioned support no matter the human cost. But money and lobbying are only half the picture. There's something deeper, a narrative, a story that has been carefully crafted for decades. For decades, Israel has been sold to the American public as the only democracy in the Middle East. From Hollywood movies to school textbooks, Israel is painted as a brave little country surrounded by enemies. Meanwhile, Palestinians are often erased or portrayed as aggressors. Look at U.S. presidents.
From Reagan to Bush, Clinton to Obama, Biden to Trump, every one of them repeats the same script. America stands with Israel. Why? Because challenging that narrative would be political suicide. But there's another layer that makes this even stronger: religion. Millions of American evangelicals believe that Israel's survival fulfills biblical prophecy. Groups like Christians United for Israel, led by Pastor John Hagee, openly preach that supporting Israel is God's will. That means millions of votes tied to religion, a powerful bloc no president wants to lose. In 2018, when Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, it wasn't just for Israel, it was also a gift to evangelicals. So we have money, we have lobbying, we have religion, but what about consequences? What happens when U.S. leaders keep supporting Israel no matter the cost? Here's the contradiction. America claims to defend democracy and human rights, yet it bankrolls a system of apartheid, illegal settlements, and endless bombings. Every missile that hits Gaza, paid for with American tax dollars. Every hospital destroyed, linked back to Washington. And this is why so many are asking, who's ruling who? Is America guiding Israel, or is Israel guiding America? Former U.S. officials like General David Petraeus have even admitted blind support for Israel is fueling anti-American sentiment worldwide. In other words, this isn't just about Palestine. It's about America's future. So, is Israel ruling the American government? The evidence is there. The billions in aid, the lobbying machine, the narrative control, the religious influence, and the political cost of saying no. A country of 9 million people dictating policies of a superpower of 330 million. But here's the real question. How long can this last? As more Americans wake up to the truth, as global outrage grows, silence becomes impossible. And when that silence finally breaks, the question won't just be about Israel. It'll be about America itself. Whose interests is Washington really serving? Its people or someone else's?
That's just the way it works, folks. It's horrendous. A lot of people are picking it up now, though. I mean, is it too late? That's the question, you know? Is it too late? But people are picking up on stuff, even with what's going on in Ukraine, which is still going on, you know, more money laundering. And I told you, like, 2 years ago, that, or when, you know, about 6 months into when the war started, so maybe 18 months ago, the war, the genocide, that while the genocide of Gaza has been ongoing, there's been like 400,000 Jews go to Ukraine and buy land. And that was 18 months ago, so imagine what the figures are now. But now there's people like Colonel Douglas McGregor, who is commenting on this and saying he can't figure out what's going on.
You know, we've seen that 13,000 Ukrainian men between the ages of 18 and 25, just a little over a week ago, were suddenly released and allowed to cross the border from Ukraine into Poland, which was a rather strange development. But now we're also seeing settlements in southern Ukraine emerge, places where the population has been either denuded or is very, very thin. And we're seeing large numbers of Jews establish themselves in new communities. In fact, we have something on the internet that talks about the appearance of police around a community in southern Ukraine wearing American-like police uniforms, who are stopping anyone from going into the area who is not Jewish. And the people that wanted to go in there were Americans, but obviously they were Christians. They were halted, turned around, and sent away. We've always been hearing about this desire to create another greater Israel in parts of Ukraine, where at one point you had large numbers of Jews before the Second World War that were concentrated in places like Ukraine and part of Poland and southern Belarusia. This is very odd. Is this part of the larger plan that's bankrolled by people like Larry Fink and others to create this? Is this an extension of Israel as it is today? I have no idea. But needless to say, I thought it was very odd to find a police force that looked like they were the New Jersey State Police, and insisting that if you weren't a Jew, you couldn't go into the area. I thought that was very odd. I don't know what's going on, but clearly the numbers of Ukrainian men are at an all-time low.
Yeah, interesting. Well, what's going on, Colonel Douglas McGregor, is what we've been telling you is going on for the last 2 years, or the last 5 years in regard to Ukraine, of what this whole war is all about and what they're actually doing with it. So, I mean, more and more people talking about it. You've seen more and more of the mainstream media talking about it. The problem is that Israel, the Zionists that run Israel, whether they're Khazars or whatever, again, it's irrelevant. What they are is the most evil force in the world today. We can speculate about where they come from later. But there's a lot of people speaking out against them, and that's what these people want, because they want all Jews in the world to feel threatened so that they will all come to Israel to populate the land they just stole from the Palestinians, and to create the need for Israel to expand into Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Greater Israel. But they need to make their genocide as public as possible, their disregard for international law as public as possible. You know, Israel has spent a lot of time, ever since it was formed back in 1948, it's spent almost that entire time infiltrating into all governments, all institutions, weapons manufacture, the money system, everything, technology. This has been its main focus. I mean, when Israel comes to your country to help you with technology or to help you with building or sciences or surveillance or anything, it's doing it in order to further its own gains. It's doing it in order to be able to exercise control over your country. Like, even when you saw, I think in Fukushima, when that happened, I think some of these power stations were Israeli-made power stations. So, you know, they infiltrate their way into everything. And now they are in complete control of most of the media, all the big areas. And I mean, a lot of the people in the mainstream media that are speaking out against Israel, you've got to wonder whether they're plants, whether they know what they're doing, or whether they're genuinely waking up to what's going on. You know, questions around Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly, and there's another blonde woman as well. There's a bunch of people that are saying things that, you know, sound pretty good, even Tucker Carlson to a degree. You've got to wonder how much of it is them actually waking up, and how much of it is, you know, controlled opposition, in order to plant this seed out there to find those who are speaking out against Israel, and to encourage people to speak out against Jews in general. Because by doing so, this will drive more Jews back to Israel, and the Zionist government that controls Israel will be able to say, see, we told you that it's not safe out there for Jews, you need to come to your homeland, which isn't their homeland. You know, and a lot of them will argue, well, you know, all of this animosity only rose against us in other countries because of what you're doing in Gaza. You know, but that will only last for a generation. I mean, what Israel's done in Gaza, I mean, it's never going to be forgiven for this. There's people around the world that are going to teach this time to their children, and it's never going to be forgiven. And you will have in Israel, it only takes like one generation or two generations to change the complete mindset of society. As one generation comes through school, they get taught a completely new history to what the generation before them was taught. And their parents are getting old and blah, 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 and they become staunch zealots and protectors of Israel and all the shit that they do, because they're programmed to be that way. So this whole thing is like, it's working towards creating a religious-based government under Christianity, putting it against a religious-based government under Islam, and having a religious-based Zionist government in Israel, There's puppeteering the whole thing that plays itself as the victim the whole way down the line and watches the Muslims and Christians kill each other. See, a lot of Christians don't really want to go to war, but if you can combine Christianity with government and turn it into what Frank described as a fascist theocracy, then you're pretty well there. And that appears to be what's going on, and this, I think, was always the plan, folks. And like I said, while this whole Charlie Kirk thing's been going on, suddenly you've got Antifa outlawed, you've got organised protests being called an incitement to riot, which leads to death. And the riots always come from the police. The police come there and they start the violence every single frickin' time. People try to have a peaceful protest, the police come, the riot squad comes. And they start the riot. That's why they're called the riot squad, because that's what they do. They go to a peaceful protest and they turn it into a riot. And then the media plays it and goes, oh my God, riots, people being hurt, blah, blah, blah. It's all such a show, folks. But by combining government with religion, you can put the world against each other. And that is the plan. And the thing is that people are not powerless to stop this, folks. They won't ever see it stop if they put their faith in government. But people are not powerless to stop this. I mean, you are not powerless. You are unique. We are all unique. People just think they're powerless. No, but it's the government that makes them think that way. It's because people leave things to government. Like, everybody wants to see a ceasefire in Gaza, but the problem is they leave it to the government. You've got the United Nations, which isn't really a United Nations. It's a united dictatorship whereby all of the countries that are members of the United Nations are under the dictates of the United States and Israel, because the United States and Israel have the power of veto. Of course, Israel can't vote in resolutions against itself because it is the name on the table. But, I mean, we had the other day 43 members of the Security Council voted for a ceasefire in Gaza, and the United States vetoed it, and it is the 6th time they vetoed a ceasefire. And by the way, if they did have a ceasefire, it would see the release of the hostages. But the United States has vetoed every single call for a ceasefire in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's pretty telling, folks. And it doesn't matter how much people call it out, and people are calling it out. I mean, Ireland as well says that Israel is an absolute pariah.
There should no longer be any permission for Israel to enjoy the status of UN membership. It's a pariah state. It should be treated as such. It is a terrorist state. It should be treated as such. And as a result, there must be total international isolation of the Israeli state. If you are not going to apply and observe the rules of the club, then you should no longer be allowed to be a member of the club. We have never seen such a full-blown, apocalyptic genocide being carried out with such relentless viciousness against an innocent and defenseless people in the modern age. I believe that's a call to action. We're looking at this point in time at the UN Charter, that framework of rules and laws upon which the United Nations was built, now being ripped up in front of world opinion. And in my opinion, that requires exceptional action to be taken.
Yeah, and that's totally on the money, because it is hideous, folks. By the way, my friend Nedal, I hadn't heard from him for 2 weeks. I was getting severely worried. But he posted an article on the independent media about a week ago, and I'll share that with you now.
My dream was just to come back to Beit Lahia, but unfortunately and sadly that we are here, we are displaced again. We have to evacuate Gaza City. And instead of going back to the north, we are here in the middle of Gaza Strip, Deir al-Balah City. And we don't know when and where we can stay and when we can go back to our home in Beit Lahia. And now after 2 years, after more than 700 days of the war, we are repeating the experience of suffering, the experience of being displaced more than 10 times, 14 times, and maybe 20 times. We don't count the times of our displacement as it has no end. And we don't know when this war will going to stop. It's really a sad day leaving Gaza City, and it's like bidding a farewell to Gaza City, to its streets, shops, buildings. And I was asking myself, what is the fate of Gaza City? What is the fate of these beautiful buildings, old buildings, new buildings, the streets, the shops? And I'm asking the world, please stop invading Gaza and stop the aggression on Gaza City itself, as this is only what is left in Gaza Strip. And we don't want the fate of Gaza City to be like the fate of Rafah and Beit Lahia and Jabalia.
ايش الصور اللي بتروحها؟ وين؟ على وين؟
على الجنوب.
Here we've been searching for a piece of land to make our tents, for me, for the family, and for some relatives. It's not an easy task to find an empty land in the south of Gaza. Especially the Al-Mawasi of Khan Yunis is really full, and you have no space even to walk. And now we are in Deir al-Balah city in an empty land. We are making and we are talking with the owner to rent it.
Yeah, and he's got a fundraiser. He's just trying to raise £6,000. I donated a little bit the other day. What these fundraisers are for, I mean, they're not going to be able to get him out of Gaza because Israel won't let anybody leave. I mean, I showed you that graphic before of how they're telling people, oh, we're telling them to leave. But how? I mean, Israel controls all that land. The only place they've got to go is swim out into the ocean. And they can't leave, but the problem is that if I can't get money to Nedal, then he has to go to the aid distribution sites to try to get food aid. And the aid distribution sites, I mean, I've shown you the sniper shot 50, 60 children in a day. He says he fired 50 or 60 shots. These are good snipers, and he's been told to target children. So, yeah, we know he killed 50 or 60 children a day. This is just what they're doing, you know. And Nedal has his little girl, he has his family, he's got his mother and his sister, his little girl, and his wife, and I'm just trying to keep him away from those food distribution sites. I mean, you can still buy food, but it's ridiculously expensive. It costs like ridiculous amounts of money, even for a tent or a blanket or anything. And if there is some sort of international intervention, I mean, you've got that flotilla that's going there with Greta Thunberg and all that. And now there's actually the Italian Navy, and I think the Malaysian Navy as well are saying, or the Indonesian Navy are saying that they're going to protect the fleet as well. I think China's actually said they're going to protect the flotilla as well. And Indonesia is actually threatening to put 20,000 troops on the ground, or 200,000 troops, I think 20,000 troops on the ground in Gaza to hold off the genocide. Again, you've got Trump saying he's not going to allow them to annex West Bank. I don't believe anything he says, but we'll see. Maybe he'd do that as it would be a token gift to people to make them think that he's not completely corrupt and the Q is correct and all that sort of crap for the conspiracy theorists. Who knows? But yeah, there is a chance that they won't succeed in annexing Gaza and annexing West Bank. There is still a chance that the international world is going to step up and say, well, screw the UN Security Council and all of this, we're going to put troops on the ground there anyway and protect these people. This is a holy place. Gaza City it's like 3,000 years old, that city, and Israel has just reduced it to rubble. It's absolutely hideous when you look at what they've done to the place, and it's inexcusable. And the people of Gaza and of West Bank now are being systematically exterminated. So
You know, I mean, I give to Nedal because I want him to survive this. There's still hope that the international community will step up to the plate. I mean, maybe America isn't going to do it. Of course they're not, because Donald Trump has bought and paid for Zionist stooge, and you've got like hideous, disgusting subhuman parasites like Marco Rubio in a position of way too much power, and other people like Pete Hegseth and all these people. These Zionist puppets been paid way too much money and control way too much. And you've also got the Zionist controlled media, which exists in all of our countries. Plus you have the Zionist controlled monetary system, and very often like cell phones and all this sort of stuff that they control. And I've warned people before that your cell phone is a bomb. I mean, you saw what they did to the pages. There was an experience I had back in 2019 where actually I smashed a cell phone with a hammer and it exploded like a bomb. It really surprised me. I thought, shit, if they actually put a signal in that and that went off in my hand like that, it probably would have blown both my hands off if I'd been holding that phone. And I was smashing it with a hammer, but hey, it was a pretty damn big explosion. I expected it to, sparkle and fizzle and maybe go bang a little bit, but nothing like what I saw. I mean, this explosion was a white explosion, and it was about the size of a soccer ball or a basketball. It's pretty freaky. I warned people of this years ago. But the thing is, folks, like I said, there's a lot of really bad shit coming, but you're not powerless in the face of this. You're not. Government only has power because we believe that power exists. And as I've said before, if you look at the world today, every single problem we've got in the world today exists because it was legislated to exist. Government is the source of all crime because government puts laws in place making it impossible for normal, decent human beings to live their lives. Like I said, a lot of children are going to be affected by what they're going to do with this, ID shit and age restrictions they're bringing in Australia, because there's a lot of kids who use the internet and it's their entire social life. And they don't do bad things on it. There's a lot of good kids out there that just do the right thing. They're not interested in porn, they're not interested in any of that sort of shit. They're interested in the latest technology, and they're interested in playing games together and all this sort of shit. And like, are games going to be considered social media because people chat to each other in games? Are games going to have to be supervised by parents, or the parents will be fined? I mean, where's this going? This is total control. They prevent people from doing the most basic things. And every time you create a new law, you create a new crime. That's the way it works. They can show you the books every year and say, oh my God, look at the amount of crime in the world. And you're not seeing a lot of crime when you look around you. It's because they've created hundreds of new laws. And every time they create a law, they create a crime. And then it makes the books look like, wow, there's all this crime, we need more police. That's how it works. That's how you build a police state. The media pushes it all. And every time they do something to restrict your rights and remove your freedoms, they say they're doing it to protect the children. Every single time. The United States is really about to fall, folks, if people don't pay attention and stop believing that they're powerless. Every problem that you face in society, all the crime, all this sort of stuff, crime basically comes from scarcity. People have been given a false view of history and themselves. People have been given a false view of society. All the black on white crime in the United States, whereby the black people believe they need reparation for slavery, when there's no indication that the slave trade was anything like what they said. And even if it was, well, the original slave boats were all Jewish, and you had black slave owners as well as white slave owners. And the original slaves who actually built America and did all the hard labor were actually Irish, white Irish people. They didn't call them slaves, they called them indentured servants. Sounds a little nicer. So people have all these chips on their shoulders, and they don't know history. They don't really know where they come from. they're kept in a society where people believe the youth is what it's all about, and you've got to be young and beautiful. The exaltation of youth. Once you get over a certain age, you need to have plastic surgery and do all sorts of crap to your body, and women are taught that they've got to be extraordinary or they'll never make it as a decent human being. And they buy all these self-help books which basically continue to make them feel like they're ordinary, because that's what they're designed to do. Now you got all these women in there, these models who are all photoshopped, and it's insane what they've done to women. And all this has been done to divide society. So you've got a divided society, divided by what they believe a man or a woman is, divided by race, divided by colour, divided by religion, divided by financial status, all of this sort of shit. They've created this whole situation, and it's all been done by government and politicians and media. And then suddenly they think something like Q comes along, and Q's going to say to them, and Donald Trump's going to get them out of this mess. Donald Trump's their friend. And all Donald Trump has done is write executive orders and go to war and fund genocide since he got into office, and made billions. Apparently his family has had the most productive year of their entire lives during the Trump presidency. All the insider trading with Bitcoin and shit. Another thing he's saying, he remember when, like a couple of years ago, maybe even just before he got elected, maybe a year ago, Trump said he was going to get rid of the national debt. And the national debt, US national debt is like 37 trillion or something. It's ridiculous. And he said he's going to get rid of the national debt. And he mentioned, well, maybe we'll just put it all into Bitcoin and we'll give them a Bitcoin.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
But how do you want it to be more prominent in America? How will that work?
Oh, it's going to work easily. It's already prominent. It's moving along. It's very loosely regulated. That's one of the reasons it's moving along. But it is a different form of a currency, and it's going to end up benefiting the country.
And just recently there was a statue erected, out like 12-foot high statue at the front of the White House apparently. It might have only been there for a couple of days. A gold statue of Trump holding a Bitcoin. And there was a Russian minister talking, saying that he believes the United States is going to transfer the US debt into cryptocurrency, put it all into a stable coin, like USDT. And a lot of people who shop with crypto and stuff know that there's a lot of places that require you to use a stable coin. So they might have Bitcoin or Monero or something on their phone or their app or their hard wallet or whatever it is they use. And they have a card, or they just use their phone. And when they go to pay for something, the exchange that is hooked up to it automatically transfers it into a stable coin to pay the shop. I mean, not all the time, but this is how a lot of cards work. You've got to actually change your crypto into a stable coin. And there's talk that Trump was going to put the US $37 trillion debt into stable coins, which would essentially drive the crypto market right up, and then pay off the national debt with a stable coin, and then basically devalue the coin and crash the world economy.
Right now, America is trying to change the rules in the gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember how much debt they have, $35 trillion. Essentially, these are two alternative segments to the global currency market. Washington's actions in this direction clearly demonstrate one of America's main objectives. They are very eager to solve the problem of declining trust in the dollar. The US, just as it did in the 1930s and 1970s, will solve its financial problems at the expense of the entire world, driving everyone where? Into the cryptocurrency cloud. Over time, when part of the US national debt is placed in stablecoins, the US will devalue that debt. Once again, in simple terms, right now they have a $35 trillion currency debt. They move it into crypto, into the cloud, devalue it, and start from scratch. This is for those who really love dealing with crypto.
Russia has made a shocking claim that the United States may be seeking to offload its staggering $35 trillion national debt by leveraging cryptocurrencies and gold.
Yeah, and that's interesting that they would be having that thought go through their minds. Of course, Trump would crash the world economy by doing this, but it would leave the US economy intact, make America great again. Yeah, people don't really seem to realize that the United States is not America. America is actually quite a big place, which includes Canada and Paraguay and Uruguay and Brazil and Mexico and a lot of other places besides the United States, but that's another story. But it's interesting that they would be coming up with that concept. And looking at what Trump's doing, I mean, Trump is the most corrupt thing we've ever seen. He's just a good actor. A lot of people think he's on their side, and he's not. He's on his own side. Well, he's on the side of the globalists. He's on the side of those who want a one-world system. That's why you never find remedy in government. Government is evil in all of its forms and all of its aspects. Every problem we face in the world today, as I've said, was legislated to exist. Every piece of environmental damage, everything that's been done, I mean, all the oil spills and the stuff that the mining companies and the oil companies have done. We didn't need any of this. We had free energy before government came along. So government is evil in all of its forms, folks, and until people realize that and stop supporting that and stop thinking they can vote someone in or vote someone out and it's going to make a difference, it's not. It's us. The problem is people believe they have no power. And it's simply not true. It's absolutely not true. You know, all we have to do is remove support for these people. Stop paying taxes to them. Stop having anything to do with them whatsoever. I mean, even so, there's police there that are all covered in Kevlar and all that sort of shit. You know, if people just start realizing that we're all in this together and start supporting the people around them and live your life communally, stop paying your taxes, stop having anything to do with government and just live the way you are now, only remove taxes from the equation and remove voting from the equation and get the frickin' television off your shelf and out of your life. Stop believing what the media is saying. You know, we got this. I mean, we are the ones running the world anyway. It's all done by people. All the companies, all the food distribution, all this shit, it's all done by people. Government just insinuates itself over the top of the whole thing and says, oh, I like what you're doing, give me a cut. Pay taxes for the shipping company, for the farmer, for the grower, for the food producer, for the deliverer, for the gas station, for the freaking everything. Car manufacturer, house builder, whatever. Give us a cut. No, don't give them a cut. So no, we're doing it, the people now. We're just going to do what we do, and we're going to get all your tax bills out of the way, which means everything's going to cost about a third of what it does now. And we're just going to get you out of the equation because you've abdicated your privilege to government because of everything you've done. You're an essentially evil mechanism. Government. Guba mente. Mind control. Control mind. Guba mente. Or gubernare mente. Mind control. People believe the government is real because they've just been taught that it is, but it isn't. It's just your perception of authority. Government is a meme. It's just an idea passed down through generation to generation via non-genetic means.
In order for civilization to function efficiently, by necessity, civilization itself brought with it yet another organism, something more hidden, more mysterious, and more insidious than its parent. What it brought with it was a meme. A meme is described by the Oxford English Dictionary as an element of a culture or system of behaviour passed from one individual to another by imitation or other non-genetic means. Isn't this an exact description of the system that currently controls humanity? Is it not a fact that when looking at modern civilization and the social, political, financial and legal systems that dictate the behaviour of those within it, what we observe is a system of control that is wholly fictitious. Is it not a fact that it is a system that functions entirely due to people's belief that the system itself is real? It is a system based entirely upon fear, and a system that continues to function solely due to the energy it receives from the human beings within it. Yet the system itself is simply a name.
But yeah, that's about all I've got to say anyway, folks. Oh yeah, Ray from BitChute would like some contributions and stuff if you can. I've actually pinned an affiliate link below if you can maybe subscribe to BitChute and help Ray out. This is something else I was thinking about the other day as well, like YouTube reinstating my channel. Why would this be? They've reinstated a lot of channels. Some they didn't. One of them I think was, what's that guy's name? The Health Ranger. But I think there's a reason for that. I think that's because he runs Brighteon, which is another YouTube BitChute type place. That's probably why they didn't. But they've reinstated my channel and I wonder why. And I noticed with BitChute, I mean, BitChute really needs an upgrade. Sorry Ray, I mean it does. I upload my videos to BitChute here in Croatia. Sometime like the last show I uploaded took 7 hours to upload. I don't know how much this one's going to take, probably the same. I thought, well, it's the internet connection, but then it does the same with Odyssey. It takes about 7 hours to upload a video file to Odyssey from this connection here. Then I go onto Rumble, and I even go onto Vigilante TV and I upload the same file in about 10 minutes. So I figure, well, maybe it's not the connection here, maybe it's this country throttling BitChute, maybe it's BitChute itself. But anyway, I mean, BitChute's been banned in the UK, and I think Ray's probably lost a lot of income. You probably notice there's a lot of ads and stuff on BitChute now. It's because Ray's lost so much income by BitChute being banned in the UK. And BitChute, like really, it's the only free speech platform we've got left. And they can't really shut it down because like Ray's not in the West, he's in Thailand. So he's a difficult fish for them to catch. And I think they're trying to do what they can to remove funding and shut BitChute down and just make it too clunky and just too unmanageable for people to want to use. I think they'd like people like me to return to YouTube and start posting there because, wow, I've got 230,000 subscribers on YouTube or more. I had 243 when they cancelled my channel 5 years ago. I think that's probably dropped by about 10,000 now. But I think they'd like people like me to go back to YouTube because I want the audience, and to just leave BitChute altogether so people don't go there. And you know, then they'll probably let me stay on YouTube for a while until it gets to the point that BitChute simply can't financially function anymore and it has to be closed down, and then they'll close my channel down on YouTube and we won't have a free speech platform. And as far as free speech goes, BitChute has been the best thing so far. You know, I mean, I don't know Ray very well. I met Ray once in, I think it was 2017, I think, in Acapulco. It was at one of the conferences that was spread out. It was in the Mundo Imperial, and the conference was spread out over this huge area. There's no kind of common area like there was at the Princess Palace or like there was at the Grand Hotel or even at the Secret Garden. It was spread out over this whole complex, and it was most of the people that were there spent most of the year walking between rooms to try to find people, and of course no one found anybody because they were all busy walking between rooms as well, you know. So, but I met Ray at that event. He's a nice guy, and every time I've had trouble with my account or anything, he's been totally there for me and helped me through it. So, and we need BitChute to be here, folks. So anyway, kind of long-winded, but yeah, there's a link below. There's an affiliate link, and if you click it, you can get a subscription to BitChute and help fund it and help keep it on the air. And you know, we might get better upload speeds and things. If Ray's got a little bit of money, he can actually put into the platform. I mean, the amount of people that use BitChute, for God's sake, I mean, if everyone even just gave him $1, it would make a huge difference, you know. But look, $5 or whatever, I mean, you know, it all adds up and it all makes a difference. And like I said, it's our best hope for free speech at the moment as well. And of course, there's my friend Nedal's fundraiser as well, just in an attempt to keep him and his family alive. So much going on, folks. You can see how important it is by the amount of disinformation and stuff, even with the Charlie Kirk shooting. I mean, there's a lot to indicate that Israel was behind this. Perhaps, I mean, that movie is a tricky one. I mean, you could say, well, perhaps they did it not on the date they intended or whatever, but I mean, the fact that Charlie Kirk had been waking up to Israel, you know, you could say, well, maybe this was, you know, Israel jumped the gun, they just did it. But then you've got that movie where this guy, was it Tyler the Executioner, used as a distraction so that Charles Kirkland can be shot in the neck at a public event on September the 10th. I mean, what are the chances, you know? Unless that's just the Matrix itself warning us of these things, you know. It's crazy, this sort of stuff. It really is. But there seems little doubt that Israel did it. I mean, the media blitz that we saw. I mean, instantly, you had Benjamin Netanyahu doing a mainstream media blitz saying Israel didn't do it. I mean, who does that? You know, there's a killing. Oh shit, I didn't do it, you know. Like, who does that? And at the same time, you had a full social media blitz, like on X and TikTok, and I think probably on Facebook and shit. I don't know, I'm not on Facebook, but certainly on X, and I believe on TikTok as well, and on Telegram. There's a huge blitz saying Israel, you know, didn't do it, and then there was a huge push by the everything is always fake all the time people, who put a whole thing is fake, all this sort of stuff, and fully attacked anybody who thought differently. So, you know, no investigation, shut it all down, we already know it's fake, don't look at anything else. And of course, if it's fake, well, I guess Israel didn't do anything, did they? No reason to blame them. But there was a huge media blitz, social media blitz, and a massive amount of infighting generated on the internet. You know, was it a bullet from here? Was it a bullet from there? Is it real? Is it fake? If you don't go along with me, you're a shill. All this sort of shit to cover up everything and keep people distracted and have them not looking at the bigger picture. And I said, back when it happened, I said, watch out for what's going on in the background while you're busy arguing over insignificant details, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the bullet came from. Sure, interesting to know. I'd like to know. But it doesn't ultimately matter in the bigger scheme of things. Is he alive or dead? Doesn't ultimately matter in the bigger scheme of things. Sure, I'd like to know. But I'm not going to argue over anything either way, because frankly, I wasn't there. And if you hit someone in the jugular, I mean, it's conceivable that amount of blood would come out. I mean, a jugular is this far. This is an artery. You know, the heart's right there. It's pumping. Boom. You're going to gush out blood. Even, I believe, Charlie Kirk's wife said at this farce of a memorial that the doctors told her that even if he had been shot on the operating table and received that wound, they couldn't have saved him. It's a wound that it's impossible to recover from. You can't sever a neck artery and expect anyone to recover. You're going to bleed all your blood out. It's going to be gone in like a minute. You're going to be dead. Probably less than that. People argue whether it's real or fake. I mean, these people don't care. Government is so freaking evil. Israel is so evil. These people that are running the world are so freaking evil. They don't give a shit about killing anybody else. And if you look at Charlie Kirk's wife and think, well, there she was in that pageant when she was 17, pageant run by Donald Trump and probably Jeffrey Epstein as well. And then suddenly, straight after winning that pageant, and, you know, sure, she's a nice looking lady, but she's not like this, like she's no Claudia Schiffer or Elle Macpherson, you know what I mean? She's just an average, nice-looking American lady. She's kind of big-boned and, you know, she's not this hourglass, slender, like, model, you know? How did she just, you know, you get told to go into this pageant and then she goes in it, she wins at 17, and then at 17 she's able to open a ministry and go and get involved with the Romanian government in protecting children, and then suddenly all these children start disappearing. Like I said, Trump's pageant. Trump was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And so suddenly she's got all that behind her. And here's this guy speaking out. Here's Charlie Kirk, who's, you know, he's a nice enough looking guy, but, you know, he's attracting a lot of attention. I think it was around about 2016 he started attracting attention. Like, I honestly don't know him. There was that meme, Prove Me Wrong, that people kept posting. And I saw maybe 2 or 3 minutes of some debate he was having with somebody. And he was very pro-Israel. And that was all I saw of him. I didn't know anything about him until he got shot. But yeah, he's a pretty average sort of a guy. Well spoken, but uninformed on a lot of things. So suddenly he's got this girlfriend who has all these ties to all this stuff. You know, she his handler. Because you got this guy here, he's speaking out, he's getting a lot of attention. While he's saying what we want, we will keep him going and we'll just have you watch him. But if he starts waking up, I mean, he started saying things about Israel publicly. What sort of conversations was he having with his wife? And was his wife put there to be truly his wife, or was she put there as his handler? And don't think that they wouldn't embed a woman with someone like this and even have her have kids. I mean, this is how these spy agencies work, folks. That'll just be part of her job as a Mossad agent or whatever. And yeah, he's saying some pretty full-on stuff at home, and maybe it's time to take him out. Or maybe it was all planned for this time. I mean, that film coming out in 1998, it would be interesting to know when Charlie Kirk met Erica Kirk, or what her name was before. Her name was Erica Kirk, but it would be interesting to know when he met her. I wonder if it was 1998, or whether they got married in 1998, or who knows. That would be an interesting little rabbit hole. A little detail. I mean, yeah, all this stuff doesn't matter. But it's all interesting to know, isn't it? I mean, even whether Charlie's alive or dead, interesting to know. Where the bullet came from, interesting to know. But perhaps we can find this stuff out later, because right now, what we need to know is that this was obviously a staged event. Nothing gets this much attention without being planned to happen. He built that whole they had a whole arena full, like all that stage with all the fireworks, and have the orchestra there and the choir singing, and her come out in the virginal white and stop to shed a little tear and put it behind bulletproof glass. I mean, this was so freaking staged, folks. So obviously it's going to be used, and what it's going to be used for, you know, we've got to ban guns, we've got to ban free speech, we've got to merge, you know, the government. That's the problem. That's why this happened, because of the left. It happened because there's no Jesus in government. So we need to merge the church and the government together while we're funding genocide and having weapons factories and building bombs and having wars all over the place and claiming we're the most brilliant country on earth when everybody else thinks we're a laughing stock. All these cultures that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, like Frank Zappa said. Look at America and go, you people are fucking crazy. And why do you think we should change what we do for your needs? And these are the people who threw the Jews out of all their countries, 1,030 times. 109 times they were expelled. They got expelled from countries, they kept coming back, and they throw them out again, They just come back and do the same thing. So they created the whole situation with the Balfour Declaration. They infiltrated the money system, they got control of the royal family's money through the Rothschild Bank. They instituted the Balfour Declaration, and just before that Zionism was born, and that's how they did it. We can claim Palestine because there's a county in Palestine called Judea, and we are Jews, so we can claim we are related to the biblical Israelites, and we can claim Palestine. So that's how they managed to do that. And now they need to populate Palestine, so they're making sure that all Jews around the world are hated, so they will feel the need to come home. And if they don't want to come home to Israel because it's kind of hot and dry, well, they're buying up Ukraine because that is ancient Khazaria, where a lot of them come from. I actually think there's a lot in the Khazarian story, folks. And that doesn't detract from what the Jews do. It just explains how these people aren't Jews. I mean, even Jew Shlomo Sand wrote that book, The Invention of the Jewish People, and the follow-up, The Invention of the Land of Israel from Holy Land to Homeland. And he claims there was no exodus from Israel back in the biblical times, that all of the people who populate the Israeli government now are all Khazars. And he says Jews are a completely invented race because there is no Jewish race, it's a faith. The race are the Khazarians with the hook noses and all this sort of shit. And they've been around for a long time, and they're always seen as the most brutal and the most horrible and the most perverse, sadistic and cruel people in battle. If you've got Khazar mercenaries in your army, don't expect to get any hostages, don't expect to get any plunder, because the Khazars will take it all. They will rape, pillage and plunder, kill every living thing, pull up trees, burn the crops, kill the animals, kill the children, everything. There are no survivors from a battle that is waged by Khazars. And you look at what's happening in Gaza, and you look at the mindset of these people, it shows that's probably who they are. But it's irrelevant, folks. It's irrelevant. What is important for people to understand is that this world is ruled by evil because we allow it. And it's so easy to get sucked down these rabbit holes. I mean, even I tell you that, and then I go straight back down a rabbit hole and start talking about the Khazars and stuff. But I'm just trying to provide some perspective for people. It would be nice to see the world wake up. I mean, it's getting harder and harder for me to do these videos, folks. I tell you, I mean, I basically spent the last, 18 years editing videos and trying to wake the world up to what's going on. I mean, it was 2008 that I made my first video, but I started sort of doing it in 2006. And I was going onto chat platforms and stuff, and I was learning video editing and all sorts of things, and doing a lot of stuff to sort of lead to this. But it was in 2008 that I actually started making videos, and actually I started creating the videos in 2007. That's what I mean. I started learning how to do it in 2006. So I basically spent the last 18 years of my life editing videos and trying to get the world to wake up to the fact that we're people, and the ones doing this are just people, and we don't have to give them our authority. They've abdicated any privilege they had to have any authority by the state of the world, and all the problems we face have been created by these people. And that's stuff I was saying back in high school, And now I've spent the last 18 years doing video editing, trying to wake the world up. And that's honestly the reason it's taken me 2 weeks to come and give you another walk and talk, because I spend so much time sitting in front of the computer screen editing videos, trying to wake up a world that frankly in many ways doesn't seem to want to wake up. Even investigating all this Charlie Kirk stuff and everything that happens, everything is always fake all the time, crew. People try to bring the word out to Gaza. Everything is all fake all the time. There is no war in Gaza. These are all Israeli agents, or people who are programmed by Israeli agents. I don't think the everything is all fake all the time crew are all programmed by Israeli agents. I guarantee if something happened to me while I'm out here touring, if I got picked up by the US government, if anything happened to me, if I got picked up or popped off by Israel and killed, people would be claiming it was fake. And they'd be arguing over it. You know, it's unreal, folks. It's unreal. I think all of these things are designed to create division, designed to create distraction. You've got to look at things on the world stage, put things on a bigger stage. Like I said, what we know is the government lies to us. With the response that this has had, I mean, you had Air Force One flying out, the president to the memorial and shit. This whole freaking memorial that they had and the furor around it and all the reference to Jesus. I mean, it's obvious this is a staged event, was planned to happen. When you see that movie that came out, Snake Eyes in 1998, well, that's a good indication as well. So the government lies to us. What are they going to do with it? That's what I said back when it happened. And like I said, now we've seen executive orders, we've seen the curtailing of free speech, we've seen this internet identity bill coming in Australia, we've seen news reports saying it's the left's fault. They've been radicalised by social media. And we've seen them pave the way for them to bring in their digital ID and through the national debt to be able to move everything into digital currency. Nationalise everything and tie it all up with religion. Fascist theocracy. Not quite communism, but something probably worse. Yeah. But anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. Like I said, I mean, the reason I haven't done a video is frankly, I'm just like, I'm so tired of sitting in front of the computer screen editing videos for a world that doesn't seem to want to wake up. It can get a little frustrating, folks. I mean, when I started doing this and really speaking out back in like probably, well, straight after 9/11, I was hitting chat rooms and stuff, you know. So when you look at that, I mean, like 25 years, 26 years, I've been out here on the front line hammering it as best I could. I didn't discover YouTube until 2005. I didn't discover that there was actually people posting true information on YouTube until like 2007, and didn't start using YouTube and video myself until 2008. But I've been going to Yahoo chat rooms, and I used to have Ventrilo groups and stuff like that, where I'll be talking about consciousness and the need for people to wake up. You know, I talked about all this sort of stuff when I was at school. And when I was at school, I figured, well, this is all messed up, and I just bowed out of the whole thing, bowed out of society, became a musician, and just basically lived on the outside of it while still observing the freak show and researching what was going on. It wasn't until 9/11 happened when I thought, oh shit, okay, here it is, this is serious, this is what we've been waiting for. Time for me to start sharing this information. That's when I hit the chat rooms and started doing everything that I just outlined for you. And here it is, 2026 in a couple of months. My birthday next month, I'll be 68 years old. Crazy, how did that happen? It's a quick ride, folks. It's a quick ride. Always take the opportunities that life gives you. Don't think they'll come again, because very often they don't. You should always make the most of what you've got. What you came here to do was to be yourself and experience what it is to be you, what it means to be you, to the best and fullest of your potential. Not to be the best version of you, just to be you. What is that? What does that mean? What is your own personal genius? You know, and don't measure yourself according to the parameters of society, and don't even think your prowess lies in technology. Sure, you might be very adept at technology, you might be an IT whiz, but you also have a soul. You also have the inner you, that little child that used to exist. You used to go and play in the garden, look at the ducks with wonder and all that sort of shit. You know, the first time you saw things, the first time you looked around the world and went, wow, what is this place? Now, that still exists in all of us, and each child has their own personal genius. That's what they used to look for back in the old days in education. They would find what it is each child loved to do, what they were good at. They love to do, and they're good at it. They're good at it because they love to do it, and they would nurture that. And bring that out in people. Now the education system is designed to just completely destroy all critical thinking, destroy all creative thought, and train people to be little clones. Again, as was said by Frank Zappa back in 1979.
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
Yes, that's what happens to kids now. And now they've been all programmed into social media, and now the government is going to take that away from them. What do you think is going to happen in our society? What do you think is going to happen in the families where these kids suddenly find out that they're banned from social media when they've never done anything wrong, and it's the only life they know? You know, how to turn a good kid into a bad kid. Well, this would be how you do it. And of course it will bring in the need for more supervision of parents and more tolerance and more laws and more police and more internet safeguards and all that crap they do, folks. Again, all been done by government because we don't believe in ourselves. I think it's about time we changed that, because if we don't, well, the world's heading for hell in a handbasket, folks. I don't know how much help these videos do, but if it can just cause a penny to drop in people's minds, you know, I can take all the accusations of shill and controlled opposition and whatever. I don't give a shit what people throw at me. You know, I've done this for 18 years. I've never had anything for sale. I've never monetized anything. I never even monetized my YouTube account. I made 6 films, gave them all away for free. Wrote a book, gave that away for free. Did a lot of stuff for free. I did everything I do because I want people to know that I don't do it for money. I used my own savings to do this for the first 8 years that I was doing it, until I ran out of savings. And now I only get by on, you know, what people choose to contribute to me. There's little things like, you know, Ray will give me an affiliate code if people sign up and get a subscription on BitChute. And again, I think it's something that you should do because, you know, actually I'm going to do it as well, because it's the only free speech platform we've got. You know, so I get little quirks like that here and there. I get a couple of bucks if people buy some MasterPeace, that nano removal stuff, supposed to get the nanotech out of your body. Again, I'll find out once I get back to Mexico and can actually have an address where I can purchase some myself, get some sent to me, then I'll find out. So I do little things like that. People do what they can to help me out. But I've done all this for free the whole time, and I don't have to do this. I don't have to spend my life, like 18 years of my life, sitting there editing videos, trying to wake the world up. You know, it's no sort of a career choice, folks. You do it all for free. But the reason I do it is because it needs to be done. And to me, the truth is so simple, and the way out of this mess is so simple. It's so simple that people can't see the forest for the trees. Like I've said, all you got to do is stop tolerating wrong behavior. Be the best you can at being you. Don't comply with anything which causes you to step outside your moral compass, which would include voting for a government that is funding and promoting genocide. You step outside your moral compass and you've lost the fight right from that point. And if people refuse to step outside their moral compass, then the world would change in a day. It's so simple, folks. It's so simple. And you know, I believe in humanity, so I guess that's why I continue to do what I do. Even when it becomes such a drudge, such drudgery. Video after video after video. And when you really look back at what I've done over the last, well, 16 years of making videos, or 17 years of making videos, almost 18, then it's basically been the same message in every single video, just told from a different perspective or enunciated in a different way, in a hope of, everybody thinks a little differently. Perhaps I can crack the seed in one more mind with this video. Because all we need is a critical mass. We don't need everybody to wake up. If a bunch of key personnel wake up and start living this reality in their own life, don't be afraid of death, don't be afraid of anything. Just be the best you can be at being you. I firmly believe that you get to a point where you're so nonchalant about it and so in that space, the reality just can't touch you. I managed to walk out of Australia during lockdown, get on a flight with 8 people on it, got to Singapore airport, was in Singapore for 12 hours, everybody was dressed like Smurfs, they all had masks on and all that shit. I didn't have a mask on, I didn't get a PCR test, I didn't have the jab, I didn't do anything, and I just breezed through the whole thing. I just had a change of heart, won't go back to Acapulco today, I'll do it in a few more days. Suddenly there's a hurricane hits that night right on my house. When I first arrived to the United States, I was going to come 2 weeks earlier. If I would have been in a 7.2 earthquake. I just kind of sidestep everything, and I breezed through all of those mask restrictions, and no one ever stopped me and asked me to put a mask on. I broke the lockdown. When they told me I couldn't go more than 5 kilometres from home, I just went everywhere I could. As soon as they told me I couldn't travel, I travelled as much as I could, and I went everywhere I could. I was driving from my house in Currumbin up to Springbrook Mountain to do walk and talks. I was driving down to Byron Bay. I was going out to Nerang. I was going to parks all over the place, simply because I was told I wasn't allowed to do it. And nobody stopped me the whole time. I never complied with any of it. I never paid taxes, I've never voted, I've never done any of it, and nothing has happened to me. I think when you get to a point of living in whatever it is, the law of the divine, dare I call it God's law, the stuff that the Christians were supposed to be doing that was taught to them in their book. You either follow the law of God or you follow the law of the state, because there were no Jews and Gentiles. There were those who followed the law of God and those who followed the law of the nation. It wasn't Jews and Gentiles. It was Israelites, those who followed the teachings of the man Israel, and nations, those who followed the teachings and laws of the nation. No Christians do this. If people simply did that, and as much as I think Christianity is very contrived, I think it's very controlled, I think so is Islam. I think religions were created to enslave the masses. I don't put any faith in any of them. But even having said that, there's pearls of truth and there's pearls of wisdom in all of them. If you read the Bible, if you read the Quran, there's pearls of wisdom in all of it. They've got to put that in there so that the whole thing seems logical to you. But they give you these pearls of wisdom and then they tie it all up in rhetoric and they tie it all up in dogma. And people don't ever apply these things to themselves. And especially the Christians, they get told, well, you can't. You can't apply them to yourselves because you're not Jesus, he was special. It's ridiculous. And so they tell you the way out in all these things. They tell you the way out in everything. Remember that old movie, what was it? With the Yellow Brick Road and the Tin Man, and what was that movie called? Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz. And it was all about fractional reserve banking, and it was all about the straw man, and it was all there in the movie. You ever watched an analysis of it? I'm sure you'll find one on YouTube. I think Michael Jackson actually did a version of it, because he saw what was going on. And it's all there in the the man with no brain, the straw man, and the tin man, and and ultimately it was all being ruled by the guy behind the curtain who created this whole fictional reality for everybody. That's what's going on. And we can fix it if people would just start believing in their own power and stop believing that they're powerless and they have no ability to change anything. You are not powerless beings. You are not powerless people. You are all connected to the divine. But anyway, I've been rambling again, folks, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. Thank you to the people who send me so many kind emails. So I haven't been responding to interview requests very much. It's kind of difficult at the moment because I'm still travelling, but I think I've got an interview coming up soon that I'll probably get out to you before I leave Croatia. I'll be leaving here in a couple of weeks and going to other grounds, other pastures. I'm not sure how long before I'll be back in Mexico, but it's interesting kind of being homeless, like not having anywhere that I actually know I'm going to be or know that I'm going to go. Not have anything waiting for me anywhere. All my stuff's in storage all over the place, stuff in Australia, stuff in Mexico. So I have no kind of housemate or, you know, no actual house to go back to. So it's kind of an interesting feeling leaving here. Not quite sure where I'm going to go. But anyway, thank you to the people who do send me email requests or do send me interview requests, and thank you to the people who send me so many kind emails. And again, any information you've got to share with me, please feel free to share with me. A lot of it comes in handy. Please do sub to my X account, which is Max TheCrowhouse. You'll find a link below this video. If you click plus more beneath the video, you'll see links to, you know, what I can provide you with. There's limited chat space, so some links aren't there, but you'll find links to what I can provide you with. You'll also find links to my Rumble account, my I think probably even my YouTube account now, I'm not sure. But you'll find links to my Rumble account, my Odyssey account, my X. I think that's about all I'm on, I think. Vigilante TV. And you can also go to my website, thecrowhouse.com, click the face to enter and sign up for the newsletter if you would like to be notified as to when these shows are going to be posted. So that's about it, I think. And thank you, of course, to anybody who's ever made a contribution. Thank you to those who do choose to help out. It really is needed, folks, and I really do appreciate it. I mean, it's one of the things that keeps me going, because I kind of feel that I owe it to the people who have contributed over the years. Even though I'm getting old and tired, so, you know, I'm tending to have a week or two off here and there when I can. But it's almost difficult to do these days, because, I mean, look what's happened in the last 2 weeks. I mean, the stuff that I've shared to you today, I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's probably going to be like a 2-hour video or something, because just so much has happened. If you go offline for a week or two, you find so much has happened, it's almost impossible to catch up. And of course, if you don't, people want to know why. Also, people have been emailing me and asking for an update on Desi Freeman, the guy who allegedly shot 3 police officers in Victoria, killed 2 allegedly, and another one went into hospital. I don't really have any updates on it, because he's basically dropped off the map. It's been like 26 days or something now since this happened. So, yeah, a month almost, maybe even a month now. And he's just disappeared. Like, he apparently shot these 3 cops and then bolted into the bush with a couple of guns. And that's the last anybody saw of him. No one's seen him since. There's speculation he fell down a mine shaft. He's a very good bushman, though. You know? There have been people that have gone on the run in Australia and stayed on the run for like 7 years. One guy called himself the postcard bandit. He used to rob businesses and basically send police postcards from where he was. A cheeky sort of a guy. They threw the book at him when they got him. But there's been no updates on Desi Freeman, and the cops are even saying now that they may have to just basically call off the search and just let things unfold the way they do, and just keep an eye out for him, because they're expending too many resources. I mean, they've got $1 million reward up for this guy's head, or indication, you know, information that leads to his arrest. They're suspected that someone could be harbouring him. I mean, I don't know. Apparently he woke a lot of people up. I don't know. I mean, whether the shooting really happened the way they did, I don't know. There's been absolutely no information come out at all. But what we do know is that government lies to us about everything all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a setup. I did question, when I was even first reporting on it, that I'd like to know the background of the 2 cops who got shot, what their political views were, whether they actually may have been shot by other police. I mean, you know, I don't trust these people, folks. I don't trust them at all. It seems ridiculous to think that one man ambushed 10 police. It would go the other way around. You'd have 10 cops ambushing one man. Why would a guy ambush 10 armed police, shoot 3 of them, 2 kill them and 1 in the leg or something. Why would one guy do this and then run into the bush? This is a married man. I mean, he's living his life. He knows he's not going to prove any points by doing this. He's just going to end up in jail or wanted or dead. Was he just pushed too far, or did he really do it? I don't know. So I'm still waiting for information to be able to provide any type of updates on that. I provided you a few updates on the whole Charlie Kirk situation, just out of interest, and hopefully that's the first and last time I'll have to deal with all those sort of updates. Like I said, I don't honestly care where the bullet came from. I don't care whether he's alive or dead. What I care about is how the event's going to be used. And having said that, I mean, sure, it would be nice to know. It's interesting, absolutely. And back in my younger years, I probably would have gone down those rabbit holes myself. As you learn things as you get older, you realise that there's a bigger picture to all of it. Arguing over details doesn't matter. This is how they diffused the 9/11 truth movement, by getting people arguing over whether it was thermite or micro nukes or this or that. It doesn't matter what it was. What matters is what happened, and what matters is that the government story is bullshit. You can see it's bullshit. 19 people with plastic box cutters, 12 of whom are actually still alive, did not bring down 3 buildings with 2 planes. Did not hijack planes with plastic box cutters. The guy who made the phone call and then said, let's roll on it, and brought down that flight, did they say, vaporized on impact. This is all bullshit, The guy used his last name. I can't remember what his name was. But it's like me ringing up my mother and saying, hi Mum, this is Max Igan. It doesn't make sense. So we know it's a lie. You don't need to argue over the details. It's the same with Charlie Kirk. We know it's a lie. We know that this guy, Tyler Robinson, is a patsy, if he even exists. It's very likely that a Discord chat was faked. It's very likely Israel had a hand in his shooting. And it's very likely that this was extremely long planned because of the whole disgraceful display they had at his memorial, which they didn't set up overnight, folks. And it's very likely, looking at her history, that his wife Erica was actually a Mossad handler. Very likely because of her ties to Donald Trump's pageant, child trafficking in Romania, and of course by being tied to Donald Trump's pageant, ties to Jeffrey Epstein as well. This whole thing is so corrupt and so evil. And again, look at what they're doing in Gaza. Once they merge approval for that with Jesus, where do you think the world's going, folks? It's important to look at this. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. It's always a pleasure to have your company. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Well, I say that I won't look forward to editing the videos. I don't even look forward to assimilating all this negative information. At least when I do present it to you, I try to put some sort of a positive slant on it. I mean, because ultimately, it comes down to us. It all comes down to us, folks. This is all happening on our watch due to our approval, which comes from basically our belief, our indoctrination into believing that the system is real and that we have to do what government says, when government has created every problem we ever faced. Government is the most evil institution that was ever thought up. And it exists because we simply believe it's real. Time to break the spell, folks. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh. Hello. Hello.
Why doesn't Egypt take Palestinians? This is like someone going into Fifth Avenue, shooting someone in the face, and it's like, why do my neighbors don't bury the body? You're the guy doing the killing, not Egypt. So stop talking about Egypt. Anyways, and I would like to, like Jonathan and his likes, to please stop Zionizing us. Stop the Zionizing. Zionizing, it's a verb which means to gaslight someone with such shameless, narcissistic, psychopathic audacity that you deny reality to their faces while simultaneously playing the victim, engaging in endless circle debates that go nowhere and displaying a complete loss of empathy and basic humanity. Right? Remember, Pierce, why the first video went viral? Because I called Israel a narcissistic, psychopathic behavior that fucks you over and then makes you think it's your fault. Because this is what Israel does. It didn't happen. And if it did, you're remembering it wrong. And if you're not, it's your fault because you're looking into my phone. Narcissists lived in their own made-up reality. They don't share your reality. They live in their own custom-made universe where facts are negotiable and truth is whatever serves them in the moment. And when it comes back and when you corner them, they back through tantrums, accusation, Hamas, anti-Semitism, full victimhood mood. And it's pointless to debate with them, right? Because take him, for example, and the likes of him. You show them a video, it didn't happen. You show them UN reports, these are lies. You mention international law, it's complicated. You get testimonies on the ground from doctors and nurses at Hamas propaganda. We saw it with our own eyes. Your optic nerve is anti-Semitic. Like Israel is like Shaggy. We saw you won the hospital. It wasn't me. We saw you killed the children. It wasn't me. Dude, your war crimes are documented. Hamas propaganda. Also, it wasn't me. There is no point of debating gaslighters. We have 4K videos, satellite imagery, and your own soldiers posting on TikTok bragging about killing children. But of course, yeah, the entire planet is having a mass hallucination, right?